Hi pals, it is me, Artie, they, them pronouns only, thank you very much. This video is going to be me kind of talking about theatre-y show things again, with a little bit of accessibility talk as well. I have been trying to find and do things that bring me joy because I'm miserable. But also, I've got a bit of a red nose right now. There's something that's just really irritating my nose at the moment, so I'm sneezing a lot and constantly feeling like I need to sneeze. So if it gets progressively redder through the video, please ignore that. But yeah, like, I don't know, this last third of the year, I don't know, I guess, something like that. The last third of this year has been me kind of trying to find things I enjoy. I spent a couple of days in central London with my mum recently because her birthday was almost a week ago from when this will be posted. We saw, I think we saw 2 shows in one day. We also saw some stand-up comedy. No, how many shows did we see? We saw 3 shows in 2 days. We saw some stand-up comedy, and I've also seen a couple of other things myself. Like, I went to see Dan Howell's tour in Brighton a little while ago. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about the things that I enjoyed and appreciated about these events, venues, I don't know, a mixture of the two. I also went to an art exhibition at Somerset House as well, so there's like a few different things here. So, oh god, where do I start? Okay, so I'll try and go chronologically. I saw Dan Howell at the Dome in Brighton. I'm not going to talk about the show, but the accessibility was a lot better than it usually is for events, or that from my own experiences. I've had quite a few terrible experiences. My Chemical Romance at the Milton Keynes Stadium was one this year. Also, the Electric Ballroom, where I saw Halsey a few years ago, I think 2018 or 19, also bad. But like, I've been having a few better experiences recently, and I really just want to talk about why they were good for me as well specifically. So I did email the disability email for the Dome. I don't think it's monitored, which is something I've come across numerous times, is that whatever accessibility, disability email address they have, nobody looks at it. So I had to email, I think the day before I was meant to go to the event, like, hi, I've not had a response at all. Please help me with this. So I was basically allowed to queue jump, so I didn't have to stand in line outside. They had plenty of spaces to like sit anyway that doesn't involve being actually inside the venue. I was like, you know, that's totally fine. I don't really want to get in early. They said that there was like a VIP meet and greet going on in there anyway first. I was like, that's fine. I don't need to go in there. I just can't stand in the queue. So yeah, I was just seated for a while. That did mean I got first dibs on the merch stall. Their sizing does not make sense because I got an XL. The shape of that shirt is weird as hell. That's all I'll say there. But yeah, they were really helpful and really informative. I don't remember if I needed to prove my disability, which is also a common thing I come across. I have to often send like a photo or bring my PIP letter with me. You know, not all disabled people get PIP, unfortunately, and a lot of other disability ID card things are not broadly accepted everywhere. So it's quite a big issue among disabled people trying to enjoy their lives. But yeah, I remember being and staying seated for a while, waiting until someone came to get me, because as well, my eyesight has gotten really bad. I can't see a lot of signs even with my prescription glasses on, so I was trying to see where I would be going, but I couldn't. So luckily someone did come to get me, like a member of staff eventually, and I was seated next to a wall, but it worked out quite well actually, because I did have some extra floor space, so I could sort of put my bag and my walking stick there. without it being like too much of like a squash. I did forget my radar key, but somebody left the disabled toilet open, so I got to use the disabled toilet anyway. They have a speaker in there and it is so fucking loud. I was trying to pee and then I just heard the announcement that the show would be back on in 5 minutes, and like, the worst time for a jump scare is when you're trying to take a piss. I did have my Flare audio earbuds in as well, still loud as shit. So yeah, that was like relatively a good experience when it comes to accessibility for an event slash venue. My next thing I went to, I guess, was the stand-up comedy. This didn't really have a whole lot of accessibility information anywhere. And also like they have the event at different places and the website really wasn't very clear with where to go. It also wasn't clear that you have to buy the tickets before you arrive because they don't have facilities to do that when you get there. But yeah, we luckily did get tickets even though we turned up without any. We paid for them online. I kind of grew up really enjoying stand-up comedy. I haven't really been to see any stand-up in like quite a long time now. And I've also never really been to like a smaller stand-up night. The event was run by the 99 Club or something like that. And the event was being filmed that night too. They had fold-up chairs for the audience. They definitely squeezed them in way too tight. People were really struggling to sit, both like legs and sideways. Like, it was just way too squashed. They really they need to change that. It was not good. Yeah, I don't know. I did enjoy the stand-up comedy. It's something that I have had like a kind of secret wish to try stand-up or become a stand-up comic, but I've never had the confidence to do that so far. But I do really still enjoy stand-up comedy. It was nice to see some people I've never really heard of before.
Except from a sports celebrity who is trying to change their direction of their career to stand-up comedy. Wasn't super funny.
But yeah, I definitely enjoyed being there. I'm glad we did go because we were like this close to just throwing in the towel and going home. Yeah, and then I think it was the next day we saw the Heathers. So our basic like plan of action for London was that we would just turn up and see if anywhere had tickets. So that's why we didn't have tickets to the stand-up night. We didn't have tickets to any of these shows until either the day of or maybe the day before. So yeah, we turned up to a theatre that was showing Heathers and they still had tickets and they had really good seats that were also on the aisle. So yeah, they didn't have like a centre aisle. It was like really, it was not a very accessible theatre, I will tell you that. But the temperature, oh my god, this is something I noticed in a couple of the theatres. The temperature of the actual place was quite cool. And as a ex-performer, highly appreciated, because the amount of times I've been on stage and I've gotten so hot because under the lights is so fucking hot, that as well a lot of places will still have heating on at this time of year, and the performers will be under like massive stage lights. So I thought that was cool. I also appreciated it as like an audience member who has temperature sensitivities. So I didn't feel like I had to keep taking my jumper off, or, you know, there wasn't a lot of faff with my clothing. The Heathers was also really great. I really enjoyed, one thing I really enjoyed generally about a couple of the shows I saw was diversity of cast, which is something that I talked about a little while ago. And some people had some very strong opinions about what I said. But yeah, it was really nice to watch Heathers and see like quite a reasonably diverse cast. Obviously Martha, I want to call her dump truck because that's what they call her in the show. I'm gonna have to look it up. Dunstock, I think it is. Yeah, the Martha Dunstock was like a mid to plus size actress. One of the Heathers, I think it was Heather Duke, was also a plus size black woman. And then Heather, I think McNamara. Heather McNamara was played by an East Asian actress as well. And yeah, I mean, the cast was mostly white and slim. And I don't think anyone was like noticeably disabled, but you never really know. It was just nice to see a bit of a more mixed, diverse cast, especially for something based in the 80s, based off of a cult Hollywood film, basically. I did feel like the audio was a little bit off. Sometimes the music was a bit too loud for the singing, and it seemed like the microphones that were stuck to everybody's foreheads had to be manually like switched on and off, because there were some times when people were talking and it didn't get picked up until like halfway through a sentence, or which was a shame. I think there probably could have been better ways of miking up the cast, to be honest. But yeah, generally it was a really interesting and fun show. I have watched the film, but I've never seen the musical, so I was quite surprised by some of the scenes. But also, from having been on TikTok for a few years, a lot of them I was like, oh, that's where that TikTok sound comes from. And I think I had the same experience with 6 as well, so. But yeah, I think there were some disabled audience members who were like near the front left from my perspective. So I think there was a different access entrance for people who couldn't do stairs. But yeah, who knows? Not a lot of that information was shared. But we got very good price tickets because, yeah, last minute is kind of worth it, actually. It's definitely what I found in that week. Then we saw the next day Woman in Black, which is not a musical. I don't have a lot to say about the representation on stage. It was 2 white men. 2 slim white men, but it was very enjoyable as a piece of performance. I didn't know that it was just 2, like, I tend to like to walk into a lot of performances with little to no knowledge of the show. So I didn't know that Woman in Black was basically played by 2 characters, and then like whoever wears the Woman in Black outfit. And that was really interesting to watch, actually. The older man would be playing all of the other characters they came across, and the way it was sort of portrayed in like an acting class, and an acting sort of way of going through, this is how you're going to tell the story. I thought that was really interesting and quite funny, especially as someone who has had some acting training over the years. It was quite very on the nose with a lot of like, oh yeah, you just pretend that you're on a buggy with the horse. I don't know, just those small things were so good. My main complaints were they had 3 different schools of kids in there. I think everyone needs to write to these schools to complain, because I'm convinced these teachers who brought the kids to this show are masochists, maybe even sadists, because I have only started to enjoy things like Woman in Black in the last few years. It's very thrillery, ghost story-esque, and like very jump scary. I would have hated watching this as a secondary school child. One of the schools as well was disabled kids who are like me, have sensory issues. They did offer ear defenders, but they were like, yeah, there are some loud parts in the show. They definitely did not sell how loud some of the parts were, but also how loud some of the audience are gonna scream. So yeah, my mum and I were sat in front of some of these kids, and oh my god, it was just like, the kids scared me more than the fucking show did, because they were just so loud. There was a poor kid from the disabled school who left partway through because there was just one of the jump scares was just way too much, and I felt so bad for those kids over there, because same, I feel you, but I at least had some I don't know, I feel like I have more of like a informed consent for this, because I enjoy watching thriller, horror, jump scary things now as an adult, whereas I absolutely would have hated it as a child. And I've developed like a coping mechanism of watching these things. Apparently it's been going on for fucking ages that drama teachers just like to bring their secondary school kids to come see Woman in Black. Mental illness. I have so much mental illness after seeing that show and experiencing all that. It was also very immersive and interactive, which was really cool. The whole like talking about, oh, your audience, and it was almost breaking the fourth wall at times, but in a very funny, clever way. It definitely broke between. There were moments of like coming up for air with comedy, which I enjoyed, and yeah, there were also moments of the actors using the aisles as well to get to and go up onto the stage and stuff like that. Watching the set was really interesting. There was sort of a main front set, and with the lighting they could kind of make the curtain partly invisible, so you could see more set, stage and stuff behind it, which was really interesting. And yeah, it was a very cool production for sure. And I do appreciate that they had ear defenders on offer. Yeah, I wish I'd taken them up on it, because even with my earbuds, it just wasn't enough to block out the children screaming their heads off every 5 minutes at basically, like, they were so jumpy at one point that barely anything would have to happen. So yeah, mentally ill. We also bought those tickets on the day. That was a matinee as well, so maybe we should have known that it would be fucking school kids. But I don't know. In my brain, I did not think, it's a matinee for Woman in Black. Definitely school children be here, until we were in line to actually enter. Again, I don't think it was a super accessible place. I don't remember if there was a lift or anything, but there were quite a lot of stairs. It was definitely a super old building. But yeah, I do appreciate more of the theatres and productions thinking about sensory needs as part of their like customer service, I guess. That's definitely a much newer thing to me. I don't know whether, it may have been going on longer than I knew, because I've only kind of just discovered my sensory needs in the last few years, which has been, very isolated. I've not been outside of the house during that time really until more recently. So maybe before that it's been going on, I just didn't know about it. But yeah, then we saw Six that evening. Pardon me. So I had, again, some understanding of what this was. My theatre group are singing Six from Six, hopefully in our showcase in January. So I've kind of heard some of the songs because of that and because of TikTok. But yeah, I didn't quite know how, I didn't know what the production value was going to be like. I did notice that in the stalls on the back of all the chairs, it said there was a no nuts / no peanut area, so to be safe for people with peanut allergies. Someone in front of me also had ear defenders. I don't know whether they were being offered there or not, but maybe. I do believe I was the only person wearing a mask in pretty much every single one of these places, or there was maybe a handful. I did see a few people in Heathers with a face mask on. I just kind of felt like being inside a theatre for several hours. I just felt more comfortable wearing my mask whilst watching these shows. So yeah, there wasn't really any kind of encouragement to wear your mask anymore. But yeah, so Six, the set was really cool. It had elements that kind of reminded me actually of Dan Hell's set, where the lighting was used. This has also happened in Women in Black as well, where a lot of lighting and stuff was used to kind of create imagery of the scene or of the story being told, which I really enjoy those kind of aspects of instead of having a whole, because in film you can just be at a different location or build a set. It's quite different for theatre, and I just really enjoy seeing people's different like interpretations or ideas for how they create these kinds of like scene elements slash storytelling elements visually and like that, and how different kinds of shows do it. Again, this was another show with diversity that I thought was really nice to see. I don't know if the performance I saw had a non-binary cast member in, but in the whatever the booklet thing is called, program, something like that, one of the main casts was, I don't know, I assume non-binary because they were they them only pronouns, and then there was another cast member who used she they. I like that they included everybody's pronouns in the program, not just the trans people, because that's something that happens all the time, is that,
oh, here is the tran, let's put their pronouns in but nobody else's, so it makes it super weird and highlighted that they are a tran.
And there was like several black women who were performing, different body sizes. I think Catherine Parr and Jane Seymour were plus size. The person who played Catherine Howard, like I feel like it must have been done on purpose because Six is a very like poppy music show. Catherine Howard looks quite a lot like Ariana Grande. She was a very, very petite performer with a high ponytail, so that I appreciated some of those nods to current media, what the fuck ever, I don't know. But yeah, like I really enjoyed the performance value. The costumes were incredible. I want to be Anne of Cleves. I want to be Anne of Cleves because the song she sang and her outfit, incredible. She had like this long sleeve, big shoulder pad, but no like cleavage, I think red and black jeweled outfit. And then like hot pants, like shorts, and then over the knee, like thigh high platform boots. And I was like, yes, I want that outfit. I want to look like that. And then yeah, her song was all about how Henry VIII was like,
oh my god, actually you're proper ugly, I don't want you.
And then she lived the rest of her life in luxury because he divorced her and she got a lot of his money, so and so she just lived in luxury for the rest of her life doing whatever the fuck she wanted. I was like, I want that to be me. But yeah, I also appreciated it as a commentary on things still going on today. Like again, Catherine Howard was kind of always preyed upon by men since she was like a young teenager slash child, which is something we obviously still see a lot today. We still see a lot of in Hollywood and other places that has been very normalised. Jane Seymour's song made me fucking cry because, you know, she died in childbirth, so she didn't get to like actually raise her son, but also she stuck around with the bastard that was King Henry VIII, who, you know, just because he talks about her as the only one he ever really truly loved doesn't mean he actually treated her any better, you know, vibes. Catherine of Aragon, I loved the performer for that one. She was, I don't know, there was something about her I really enjoyed. They were all incredible. I think sometimes the cast includes other performers, but we mainly just had white and black women slash non-binary people on stage. Anne Boleyn's song was very funny. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest. Kind of changing the perspective of like, well, actually maybe she just enjoyed sex and, you know, low-key sexual liberation kind of vibes, but just because she married King Henry VIII, he decided to chop her head off, called her a witch. Whereas other people might have gotten away with that sort of thing, even though he was also definitely cheating on her, you know. I liked Catherine Parr's song of like, she didn't want to participate in the competition of who had it worse with King Henry VIII. I don't know, it was just like, it was very fun. I think all of the musicians as well were women. it was clearly very high production set and costuming, and they were incredible singers. So like the main difference between the musicals we saw was that you know, the Heathers was quite typical musical theatre kinds of singing voices, and Six was kind of more pop, mainstream, popular kinds of singing voices. So it was a lot of like, the word is on the tip of my tongue, my dudes, but I cannot remember what the fuck it is. Where they kind of like riffing. I think it's riffing. They all made their characters very likable. They were very funny on the sort of like conversational parts in between the songs. But yeah, Anne of Cleves is like my new icon. I think I also heard in there that she lived in Richmond, which I lived near for uni, so that felt really weird. Yeah, she lived in Richmond, and so did like so Henry the VII and his granddaughter Elizabeth I also died in Richmond. I didn't know that. Interesting. And then one I haven't talked about yet was the art exhibition I went to. My friend Annie had been to it a week or so before, said that some of the art there reminded her of me and my art, and I was like, cool, okay, definitely gonna go check it out. So it was at Somerset House, which I'd never been to before. Ended up walking in the wrong end of the building, basically. So I asked the first desk I could find, and you know, it was really refreshing that kind of the first question they asked me before telling me where to go was, how am I with stairs? Which was really nice to be asked. Yeah, they told me how to get there with like minimal stairs. There were still stairs, but like there were maybe like a couple of steps rather than loads of staircases. They mentioned the lifts and stuff too. Got round to where I was meant to be. Again, still didn't know quite where I was supposed to go, so I got more directions, used the lift, went down, went up to the people at the desk, and I was like, hi, I don't have a ticket, so I was just hoping to buy one to come and enter and blah blah blah. So the person asked me, am I concession? Is that the word? It is concession. Why does that sound weird, me saying it out loud? But yeah, so they asked me if I was a concession in any way. I was like, yes, I am disabled. And they're like, okay. I was like, I'd been like preparing whilst trying to find them, trying to explain that I am disabled, even though I didn't have, you know, I've currently misplaced my sunflower lanyard, and I didn't bring my walking stick, even though, oh my god, I really fucking should have. I had it with me, but then I left it in my suitcase in like a locker. I really should have brought it because, oh my god, my body was dead on that day. This was the last day we were in London. Yeah, like I said to them, I was like, you know, I just want to say that is the least harassed I've ever been about being disabled. Like I was preparing for like this whole speech and like an argument and a confrontation about it, and I'd even tried to find like a photo I'd sent to some other place through my email address of like my PIP letter and shit like that, and yeah, just like, oh my god. I wore my mask the whole way around, but there weren't many people there, so I probably could have kind of gotten away with not wearing it, but nobody else there was wearing masks, so again, I felt a little bit better to wear my mask. There was seating in different places around there, which was nice. I do find that a lot of art exhibitions don't tend to have a lot of seating at all, let alone kind of spread out everywhere. There are a few different parts of the exhibit that you could sit and listen or sit and watch something, but yeah, it was a very cool political, I think it was called The Horror Show, and it was basically art through Britain that shows how the politics and stuff has changed over time, and reflects sort of the state of the world and how people, or state of the world, it's specifically about Britain. But yeah, it was very me, honestly. I did think it was maybe going to more into like horror show, like more to do with like horror as in film horror, but no, it was more to do with like art pieces that have been made, but also like interesting collectibles as well that people have just had. I took a load of photos. I ended up buying the book for it too, because I think it will just be a really good thing to go back to reflect on, and possibly even use some of the ideas from that for my dystopian fiction I'm thinking of writing and kind of just mulling over the ideas of for the moment. But yeah, it was a very me exhibition. It was broken up into 3 different sections. One was ghost, one was witch, and one was monster. There were a couple of places I didn't go into because they had curtains and I couldn't see, and I just didn't trust them to not jump scare me. To be honest, there were a few exhibits that were like genuinely terrifying and gross and like made me shudder. There was I probably can't show them here because they're quite graphic and gross, and I'd probably be flagged here or on Instagram, so some of them I cannot show you. One of them was like a fake dead body. I didn't look at the face, or I think I did like briefly, but I didn't properly. But like it had a shoe off and the foot creeped me out. And then there was like it was like a pharmacy door or something with like frosted glass, and you could see a child on the other side. Disgusting. Terrifying child. Yeah, and there was just so many really cool pieces. There was some really like aesthetic, very me things. Like there was some tarot card bits, there was some like fluorescent neon lights, and yeah, there was just so many things that you could definitely have a look at the ones that I post on Instagram. But yeah, it was very cool. I enjoyed going there, and it was just extra nice to just not feel harassed not having to prove I'm disabled, especially as someone who, you know, doesn't look disabled, which is a thing I don't subscribe to. I think there are signs in everybody, it's just whether we know what we're looking at /for, you know. But as someone who often has to prove my disability to go to events, either with concession discounts or needing accessibility adaptions, it was just very nice to go, yes, I'm disabled, and they're like, okay, here is your ticket, thank you, goodbye. It was just so nice. So yeah, that's kind of like my recent experiences of different events I've been going to, both from like a diversity representation point of view, but also like an accessibility adaptions point of view as well. You know, like just the smallest things can make the biggest difference in a person's experience, especially when you're disabled and are so used to so many barriers to your experience of things. So I would love for you to let me know in the comments if there were any events that you've been to that were surprisingly accepting / helpful when it came to disability. Let me know some of your favourite shows recently that you've gone to. It doesn't have to be recently either. If there's one that you went to ages ago that you absolutely loved, let me know what it was. Because yeah, I definitely found that going back into watching theatre and going to art exhibitions and stuff like that has really been an important part of me refinding a lot of my motivation and things I care about. And yeah, you know, unfortunately it is always that balance between physical health and mental health, that you can't have one without the other really, but you, especially in these times, unprecedented times that everyone keeps talking about, unfortunately you do always have to risk one or the other at the moment when you are a disabled or generally immunocompromised person. It is pretty risky to do those sorts of things, but yeah, it's something that I really needed to do, and I'm really glad I did it, and I'm just hopeful that I didn't pick anything up. Currently I just feel the same, just having like either a medication fucking me over feeling or Crohn's getting a bit angry with me, but hopefully that's all. But yeah, don't forget to like the video, leave your comments down below, both of them help the algo, thank you very much. Subscribe to the channel. I finally reached my 600 subscriber goal for the year, which was kind of incredible, to be honest. I was not expecting that. So yeah, maybe next year I'll actually reach the 1k. Maybe I'll be able to reach the, you know, everything that they tell you need to reach to become YouTube partner or what the fuck ever it is. That'll be really cool next year to reach YouTube partner. So that includes a lot of watch time though, so please watch the videos all the way through multiple times, dear. I'm also trying out YouTube Shorts to see. I've seen apparently it's supposed to help algorithmic things, so who knows. I've posted 3 so far. One of them got almost 1.5k views, but also a lot of very angry comments from a lot of very ableist, sucky people. So that was really fun. So glad that I came back to see that after my week of basically no internet access. It's all vibes, it's all vibes. But yeah, I don't know. I think that will be really cool next year if I could reach that. I've been on here for over 10 years, on and off, and I've been consistent with this basically since I left college. Mental illness. Since I left uni. I've got a hair on my, there we go. Could feel the hair tickling me. But yeah, it would be very cool if good things could happen from here on out, you know, vibes. But yeah, thank you for watching my video, and I'll see you next week. Bye.